so today is going to be another nursing video. I'm actually going to tell you the way that I study for most of my tests today. It was requested on my last video, and if you haven't seen that, you should go check it out. It's the top 5 things that I wish I knew before nursing school. So yeah, today I'm going to tell you all about how I study. I do want to say that I apologize if you hear any thumping or any kind of extraneous noise. I do apologize. I'm getting a new roof today, and unfortunately this was the only time that I have to film this video, so I do apologize. I'm sorry if it's distracting or annoying. Without further ado, let's get started. So the first, and I think one of the most important things to effectively studying and getting good grades in nursing school is showing up to class. Yes, most of your classes are most likely going to be early in the morning, probably 8 a.m.s, but trust me, if you go to class and you just so much as sit there, I don't recommend just sitting there, but if you do, you are already a step ahead of those people who decided, not to come to class or, decide to sleep in. Trust me, it's worth going to class. Teachers will say things that aren't in the book, or, they'll point out specific things, and trust me, it'll help you a lot more when you're studying. Now, when you're in class and taking notes, I know that some people, aren't fast writers or just, would rather be typing, but I personally think that handwriting your notes is the best thing for you to do. Yes, there's a lot of stuff to write, but when you are physically handwriting your notes, you're already making a little pathway for it in your brain. So I would recommend handwriting your notes. I know that some people don't have good handwriting. I don't have good handwriting, but I do handwrite my notes. I have a bad day or I just am feeling a little lazy, I will I will type up my notes, but I do notice that on days that I type up my notes, I don't really remember that stuff as much when I go back to study it for the test. So this is my notebook, and I just have like the regular, this is a regular, I don't know, it has like 6 or 5 different sections, so I use a different section for each class. And basically what I do is, like I said, I have really bad handwriting, but so I handwrite my notes in class, I make sure to date it, and I also make sure to put the title of the lecture. We do have PowerPoints in all of my classes, so I put the title of the PowerPoint, and I will also put, like for example, this says slide 47. These were the notes that correlated with slide 47, so when I go back to it, I know that these specific notes correlate with that specific slide. After class and after I take notes, I then formulate a study guide for my tests. Now, I know that certain classes will want you to know the entire book from front to back. For example, my health assessment book. So when I study for that test, I will read all the chapters that we have at least twice. Sometimes I do it 3 times. And then I will make a study guide over the most important things. But some specific classes, for example, my pathophysiology class, look at this book. Like, there's just not enough time in the day to know this. So my teacher just says, know what I say in lecture, and then if you need to go to the book for something, or if I point you in the direction of the book, then go to it. So I actually don't read for that pathophysiology class. Some people do, but I think it's just something extraneous, and I still do really well on the test, and I don't read it unless she tells me to go to the book to read it. I'm going to tell you how I formulate my study guide. Yes, I make my own study guides, even if the teacher, there's only one teacher that has ever given us a study guide. It was just questions that we answered and turned in, but no matter what, I will make myself a study guide. I think that the day before the test, you should have already read everything, and now you're really just focusing on your study guide, and the study guide should have the most important facts, perhaps some things that, you might not know as well, but I generally put everything on there because I don't want to miss anything, and I'm crazy like that. For some classes, I will type out my study guide if I don't have enough time to handwrite it, but I prefer to handwrite my study guides. And I actually have a friend who has always typed up her study guides, and it really works for her. I will show you her formula for her study guide in a minute. So this would be, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. No, okay. This would be an example of what my study guide would look like. I will write what exam it is on top, and also the date that the notes started on. And I read it in different colors. For some people, the different colors actually helps remember them. I know that if I'm taking a test and I see a word and I'm like, okay, I can like see the color it was written in, and it kind of helps me remember it. Some people that doesn't help, so you know, it really just depends on your own learning strategy and the way you can learn. Not everyone learns the same way. People do learn better differently, if that makes sense. What I do is I compile all of my notes from class. That's why there's the pink highlighter. I'm not just crazy, that's not how I highlight. But what I do is I take everything. I take the PowerPoints from class. If the teacher says to look at the book, or they're a teacher that's very stingy with the book, I will take the PowerPoint, the book, and my handwritten notes from class, and I will put it all onto one document, and that is my study guide. So as I'm going through, that's why I highlight, because I've already written that part into my study guide. In this way, it's a lot neater. Like I said, I handwrite my notes in class, so it's bringing it all together in a way that I can see it. It's aesthetically pleasing for me. Yeah, it's really easy because you know everything that you need to know is in this one document, so you don't really have to focus on anything that's extraneous. So I will also show you that I do type up my study guides as well. For example, like if I have 4 tests in 1 week, like I do next week, I will type the study guide, because that's just saving me a little bit of extra time from me handwriting it, but I'm still gonna have everything that I have in one spot: the PowerPoints, the handwritten lectures, and the book sources. So if it's on my iPad, is usually where I will look at my typed up stuff. And the reason I use my iPad, I just got really orange, I'm sorry. The reason I use my iPad and I don't print it out is because they are probably 30 pages, and I could print them out, but like I said, I don't have very much time when I am actually typing this out. It's because I have a lot of tests. Just look like this. Mine, when I type them, they're just going to be black and white. They're going to be like the outline. Some things might be bolded, but they are organized sequentially by chapter. Everything that relates to each other is going to be connected in the same area. I'm going to show you my friend's study guide. She types up, she types up all of her study guides, and what she does is she will group them by boxes. Now for me, I don't necessarily need to do this, but for her, the different colors in the text kind of help with that. So if you are somebody who needs for it to be more aesthetically pleasing, I would recommend, you know, putting them in boxes, doing different font colors if you're gonna type it, or if not, you know, you can do the different colored pens like I do when I handwrite them. But like I said, when I type them, I do black and white. I have my study guide done. Now this might make me sound a little bit crazy, but what I do is I always read my study guide out loud. And the reason I do this is because I am seeing it and I'm saying it. And then what I do is I have my whiteboard behind me, conveniently placed, and I will also write down portions of my study guide that I perhaps don't know as well. For example, I have all the diagnostic values for like the red blood cells, the hematocrit, hemoglobin. You know, I have those written down because they were harder for me to learn. I read them, I said them, and I wrote them down. And then usually when I am reading it out loud and I'm writing it down, I turn around, I don't have my notes, and then I try to say it without having my notes. Does that make sense? I'll read a section out loud, I'll then go write it down, and then I will turn around and say what I just wrote down out loud again. And this really backs up your understanding of the subject. Many teachers say if you are able to teach out loud, if you are able to go to Starbucks and have a conversation with somebody about something you learned, then you really know the subject. And it's really, really important in nursing school that you know the subject. You can't just memorize, because the questions are not going to be memorization, they're going to be application, and you are going to need to know, you know, A through Z on one subject. So yeah, that's pretty much how I study. And then when I go the day before the test, I always have 8 a.m.s. So I will get to school at 6. I actually get to school every day at 6 a.m. And it's awesome. It's the best studying time for me. It's really quiet. I have my coffee and I study. There are a couple of people that join me sometimes, and you know, people people will come to me and ask for questions, and it's really awesome because you get to communicate and talk to people, you know, before class. If anybody is confused about something, it really will help. Get to school about 6 a.m. if not earlier, and I will read through my study guide one last time. And that really helps because you're jogging your memory. At this point, you should really know everything already, and you're just kind of refreshing yourself with all the information that you should already know. And also, I would recommend, I go to bed really early, sometimes 8 or 9 o'clock, because like I said, I wake up so early at like 4:30 or 5. But on the day of the test, I would recommend going to bed no later. For all of you nighttime people, you're gonna hate me for saying this, but no later than 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, because you know, it's all about the REM sleep. You gotta get that. It'll improve your memory. You'll feel a lot better when you go into the test, and your performance will be a lot better, I promise you. So yeah, really quickly, I'm just gonna go through the stages that I told you and how I study, and I really truly think all of these stages are really effective. I'm doing, in my opinion, really well in my classes. Really feel like I'm retaining the knowledge. I'm not just memorizing it for the test. So what I do is I go to class, I pay attention, and I handwrite my notes. And then when I come home and I'm getting ready for the test, I'm taking my PowerPoints, my handwritten lectures, and the book information, and I'm putting it all together into one document, my study guide. Now, if the teacher wants you to know the whole book, I'm reading the book 2 to 3 times before the test. Before the test, I read my study guide, I say my study guide out loud, and I write down certain things that I might not know as well, just to reassure myself that I know them, and then I explain it right after I write it down to really back it up. And then I just go to bed at a decent time that day, and I get to school early the next day. I reread my study guide real quick. You know, if there's any things I was a little iffy on, I make sure that I'm okay with that. I have 2 hours to prepare before class, and this is not a time where you're crunching, you know, trying to really quickly learn it. You already know the information at this point, and you're just trying to detail and define it. This may sound like a lot. I mean, it is a lot. You're in nursing school, you have a lot of information thrown at you. But the best part about this way that I study, it's not about the quantity of time, it's about the quality of time. I don't study past 6 or 7. I never study past then. I just don't need to, and that's the time, after that time, that I focus on being with my boyfriend, my dogs, you know, some fun time to relax before I go to bed. And also, a lot of studies have proven that when you're tired and it's later in the day, you might be reading it and thinking you know it, but when it comes to knowing on the line for like cumulative exams, you probably aren't going to remember it as well. So yes, I stopped studying by 6 or 7, and trust me, you know, it's the best feeling ever, because I know a lot of people that study until midnight, and I'm just really not about that. So like I said, everyone learns a different way. If you have a method of studying and it really works for you, you know, you're getting the A's or whatever grade you want, don't change it. If it's working for you, don't change it. But if you need a different method for studying and you're willing to put in the effort, I really recommend making a study guide for yourself, you know, talking out loud to yourself. You might sound crazy, but trust me, you're gonna learn it. Yeah. Thank you for watching this video. You guys probably think I'm really crazy now about my studying, but yeah, I'm just really into what I'm learning, and I really want to do well in school, so this is the method that I've adapted to. So until next time, and if you guys have any recommendations that you want me to do, maybe like what I bring to clinicals, or anything about anything in life, or you know, nursing school, I will make a video about it. But yeah, until next time, bye guys. Thank you for watching, and subscribe if you haven't already, and yeah, bye.